it's a way you love.
Good morning, single moms, and welcome back to Speaking for Life with Tamara, where we pour into the lives of single moms. So, I was doing my research as I'm always doing, and I'm always looking for some articles that share some of the experience that I had as a single mom when of course, my daughter was small. So I'm always doing research and looking for very interesting topics. This is a good one. It is about letting folks, family and friends, borrow money. It is hilarious at the same time, but some very good tips for you to help you if you have to navigate these kind of situations. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. So, as I shared in the beginning, I came across this article and it reads as follows. Has someone close to you ever asked you for a loan to borrow some money? A lot of feelings and thoughts probably hit you all at once. An urge to be helpful for someone or to someone you care about, concerned about getting repaid. Questions, why does the person need to borrow the money from me? And possibly even questions about the law. Nah. No, that thought never really enters our mind because we're generally not talking about a large sum of money. We're generally talking about I need some money to pay my car note, I need some money to help pay my rent, something like that. So we're not generally talking large sums of money, although it can happen. So we generally not worried about what the law has to say about borrowing between friends and families. So, what if somebody comes to you to ask you to borrow some money or even a small loan and they happen to be family or friends? So, if you're listening to this vehicle, let me start with a little creative writing that I learned when I was in elementary. We're going to start with the end in mind. The end is no, you can't borrow the money from me. That's a technique that I learned when I was in elementary school. Start with the end in mind. So, no, I'm not. And so I'll share some things with you why it's not a good idea to do that. And really, I really don't understand why somebody would come ask a single mom as if there isn't already enough stress that she has to deal with, and knowing that some of the highest stress areas for her are finances. Why would anybody come to her and ask her to borrow money? So, one of the things I had done initially is when I needed to address that. I tell people this today. You have a problem telling people no? I know that's real hard for some people. I'm laughing, but I know it is very hard. So I used to tell people, which language do you want me to say it in? How many ways do you want me to tell you no? No gracias. No, thank you. Don't have it in Spanish. Non merci. No, thank you. I believe that's in French. Or it could be no grazie. Now, don't hold me to that one because, I don't know nothing about it, Italian. But those are simply ways to say no. And you know what? Let me tell you, single moms, it requires no explanation. No simply means no. And I'll provide some tips for you to try to make that a little easier because I didn't just get here. I just always knew that loaning, I don't know, somebody must have shared it with me. Not really a good thing. And even scripture speaks about it. So as a matter of practice, mom, you should probably never let anybody loan money. Most loans are made to close friends and sometimes family. Sometimes most of the time, not sometimes, most of the time, they're just a verbal okay. Majority of the time, they don't end up getting paid back. And no, they don't end up in the court system. We don't bother with that. However, they do end up in the Court of Appeals with the family, and that's no joke. So lending money to family and friends often comes with more problems than it really is worth. The consequences of that loan going bad, not good. It could really mess up, and it normally does mess up family relationships. Everybody gets involved, share a little bit of that. So it's really, really not a good thing because it doesn't just cause a problem if it doesn't get paid back with you, but that ends up spreading sometime throughout the family or through the network of friends. So the consequences of letting folks borrow money. It ranges from several issues. The first one is it's generally open ended. I don't know about that one. Not necessarily. I guess they think it's open ended because most of the time when it's a smaller amount, rent car note's not a small amount, but let's just call that a small amount. It doesn't get paid back. It doesn't get paid back because at the gate, no one made a decision on when it was supposed to be paid back for the most part. Sometimes folks will just say, well, just pay me back when you can. But they really don't mean that. The other times they say, okay, listen, I only need it until Friday. I get paid on Friday. I'll give you your money back then. So it's no problem, and the person will, readily just give them to money. But when it's open-ended is when it's a problem, when it's not given a date, when the money is going to be paid back. I think it's an issue either way. But when they're talking about open-ended, that just means that the family or the friend did not say when they would pay it back. Yeah, I'm familiar with that one. I'll pay you back on Friday. The repayment isn't always a priority for the person who borrowed the money. Friends and family, they just know you just love them. So it's okay. I'm your sister. I'm your mom. You understand. It's just not a priority. And that's not good because if you said you're going to pay somebody back the money and you said you were going to pay them back at a certain time, it should always be a priority. But those are sometimes the consequences of, you got to deal with. The person who loaned the money is not given a priority of the money when it comes to paying it back. You can't charge no late fees. There's no late dues. There's no nothing. Not like the bank anyway. Sometimes family and friends, they just don't feel obligated to repay the loan promptly. They needed it promptly, but they don't feel obligated to pay it back promptly. And that's a problem. They just don't prioritize it. And you know what? Sometimes you don't want your family and friends to feel, pressure, stress, even though they were, under pressure when they ask you for the money. But you don't want them to feel ashamed or guilty. So you don't say anything, but it festers inside. So it does become a problem. It damages, most of the time it damages relationship. And it's so sad because it's not a big amount of money, a large amount. But the damage that it can do, I think it's because, you feel you came to me. I gave you from the little that I had because I was trying to help you because you're my friend, you're my cousin, you're my parents, whatever the case may be. And you didn't even feel, to put a priority to pay me back. And so the friendship now is, the friendship is stained, to say the least. Money often becomes a part of every interaction, every time you're talking to that person, if they're not running from you. But when you have to talk about money, it becomes very uncomfortable. And sometimes it can become kind of heated. And you don't want that. It can make it awkward also for family and friends. So you and this person that you let borrow the money, now you guys are at a friend event or family event. And now this family member knows that this person owes you money. And this one over here saying, why is it such a big deal? It's just a smaller money. They just ought to let them have it. And so now it's not just the two of you. Now it's kind of spread it out to the family. So the family sometimes feel like, they're picking sides. Oh, that's horrible, especially when you guys have to get together for family events, whether it's the holiday times, whether it's just birthdays or whatever. Now you kind of got pulling the families being pulled in this, and it just makes it very awkward. It makes it very uncomfortable to the point that sometimes, people get mad. People don't want to show up just because you did something as simple as what you thought was simple is trying to help someone. So now that person is trying to avoid you like the plague. And sometimes you're trying to avoid them as well because you just don't want to get into it. You're kind of unhappy, kind of mad. You asked me for something. I gave it to you. And now instead of you trying to give me the money back or even give me, listen, let's start with some payments. You don't even want to do that. So the person starts trying to avoid you. They don't come to the family events. They just kind of let it go. Thank you. Great. So, now the person is trying to avoid you. And that's just not the way to be, especially when you're friends, you've always been friends, or your family members. That's just avoiding each other at the event like the plague. That's just not good. And sometimes the borrower becomes a slave to the lender. So sometimes when the person, maybe they can't pay the money back for whatever the reason, they're struggling trying to pay you back the money. Sometimes the borrower can really be kind of, well, you owe me since you haven't paid the money, you need to do stuff, and the borrower feels kind of like, a slave to the lender because now they owe this person money and now they feel obligated, to do all these other extra things because they don't have the money to pay them back. And that's not good either. That really isn't good. That's a form of manipulation, and that's not healthy. For example, the person who loaned the money, every time they turn around and they see the person, oh, so you've been shopping. Oh, is that a new bag? Oh, girl, you got some new shoes? Oh, you're going where? And basically she's saying everything, or he is saying everything besides, you're shopping, you're going traveling, you're doing this and this, and you haven't paid me back my money? Like, what's up with this? So now the person who has provided the loan is just kind of like, putting their hands around the person's neck, like, well, what's happening? Why are you not giving me my money? So now that becomes another issue. And you know what? And sometimes another side of this is this may be a normal behavior for the borrower. They may borrow money all the time from everyone in the family. It just happens to be your turn. So you're kind of enabling the borrower now because instead of them fixing their issues, like you're doing, they keep making it worse and worse by borrowing money from everybody in the family. So now everybody else is talking because, and the truth of the matter is, the family members, even though they're trying to help, they don't need the money. They're enabling that person so that person doesn't get their life together when it comes to their finances. And a lot of times this decision to let people borrow money is not made on emotion. It's made on, it's based on emotion. It's not based on logic. That person can't pay you back, but you feel obligated because they're your cousin, they're your brother, they're your sister, they're your parents, and it's based on emotion, not logic. Logic says, I don't have the money. I really don't have the extra, but because it's family member or it's close friends, you kind of like, it's based on emotion. Not a good decision. So if, for example, if a family member, comes and a brother asks you, can they borrow some money? And they said they'll pay you back. They're not going to. So anybody else, just like the bank, they was like, no, you're not a good risk. Chances are you're not going to pay me back. We are not going to give you the money. But we'll do it because we're family and I love you. And I believe you're going to pay me back. So now here's the issue, and this is really the bottom line. You might need that money. And meaning you may need it, your kids may need it. Without a repayment plan, when that money's going to come back, really, even that alone is not sufficient to give the loan, even if you do have a repayment plan, because you still may not see the money. And plus, if you give somebody part of your emergency fund or your emergency fund, oh my God, so what happens tomorrow if you get run over something and you get 4 flat tires? You think you're going to be able to call that person up and say, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm going to need my money back because I got 4 flat tires? I hope not, because my tires cost me $150 each. Now, that may be small for some, but times 4, do the math. So if you cannot give folks and let people borrow money, and especially if it's a part of your emergency fund, listen, single moms, other people's emergencies are not yours. They belong to them. They are in this world. They got the same information. They have opportunities to get it, to change their life. And look, and it is not being mean. You love them still the same. You just cannot be their emergency fund. That's all I'm saying. You have to have your emergency to take care of you and your children. Chances are, like 99.9, if you have an emergency right afterwards, you cannot go to them and get that money back. So here are my final thoughts. Even though this was not funny, but it happens all the time. So, and people laugh at me because I always tell them, how many ways do you want me to say no? Sometimes I tell people, do you want me to call the person and tell them no? Because it looks like you're having a challenge. I've been delivered of that challenge. I can help you. So folks just laugh because I do it all the time. Providing cash to someone that you care about feels like an act of love, but it can quickly sour a relationship. Not only sour, it can end a relationship. And it doesn't matter if it's family or close friends. Single moms, you don't have a backup plan. You know what I mean? For your emergency, there's only one check coming into your house, and that will be yours. You don't have, oh, I let somebody else borrow money. Honey, can you cover the so-and-so? No. That world doesn't exist for you. Your emergency money is your emergency money. You have to learn how to say no. It has nothing at all to do with your love for them. And honestly, I still, as I said in the beginning, cannot understand why anybody would go to a single mom and ask them to borrow money. It's just ludicrous to me. To me, that's so selfish. And that's, I don't know. It just doesn't sit right. It doesn't feel right. I just don't understand it. I really don't. So the best thing for you to do is keep your cash in your pocketbook. Unless now, here's the other case. Unless you can let somebody not borrow, but have that money as a gift, then it's okay. If you say, I can't give you this amount, but I can give you this because it's a gift and you can afford for it not to come back. Something that I have practiced in my life for, I think, since I went through the Dave Ramsey class. I don't let anybody borrow money, period. Haven't for a long time if someone would have asked me. Now, if someone did, they gotta be like next to my skin. My love for them is like really deep. But what I would tell them, I don't let people borrow money. And they always say, well, that's okay. No. Wait a minute, hold on. I don't let people borrow money. I have the money and you can have it. People get freaked out by that sometimes. Because I need to make it clear to them that when I give them this money, it's gone. I want it out of their brain. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't want them to say, I'm working on it. I'm going to give you this. I don't want any of that. When I say, I will not allow you to borrow money, but I have it. You can have it. It is not a loan. It is not to be paid back. People kind of flipped out, but that's what I do. If I have it, I give it and it's done. I don't expect nothing back. I don't look for nothing back. And that way, that bond, nothing changes. Everything is fine. It freaks people out sometimes, but that is just the way I roll. But it has to be money that is a gift and I don't need it. It's not a part of my emergency fund, da. So, and that's a good place to be if you can. Now, that doesn't mean you enable. I'm not talking about somebody that you're enabling. That is not what I'm saying. I don't even deal with that. I don't even give it to them as a gift. No, not if you know that this is a practice that this person always does. No, I'm not enabling folks. You know what? Get it together. I've struggled. I'm not even saying the struggle is over because the struggle sometimes is real because we're always trying to do something. We're always trying to move our life forward. So I'm not enabling anybody. So keep your cash in your pocket. Now, for those of you who struggle to say no, let me give you a couple of options that you can tell people so you can, get past that. You can say to them simply, now is not a good time for me. You don't have to say anything else. Another option may be, sorry, I have a lot of current commitments for the kids, so I'm unable to help you. I hope you're able to get your money. Now get some help. 2, number 3, I don't have the bandwidth right now. Now, after you say these statements or after you make these statements, in the conversation, you're done. Pivot, go somewhere else, give them a hug, see somebody else, talk to somebody else. But when you make these statements and you tell them, you owe them no further explanation. No is simply no. Okay? You don't mean no harm. Doesn't have to do anything with you loving them or not loving them. It's just simply no. As you can see, for some very good reasons. So, Mom, I hope this video has really helped you, and I hope you can pass it on to others, so hopefully it can help them as well. So please like and subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification button so you know when I upload a new video. Until then, I'll just keep looking for other things that I think impact your daily lives to make it a little easier. So bye for now.